US Nationals finals. Keep in mind that the winner of this map is the one who walks away with that land spot.
Maverick banned out by Obey. Makes a lot of sense. Very powerful operator, especially on a map like Clubhouse. We'll see Lion as well. Cloud9's been banning Lion all day, and having him gone also makes sense. Very powerful operator, no matter what map you're on, period. Just powerful.
I mean, he works with a lot of team strategies. Most teams are very well prepared for him, and in the maps where he doesn't get banned, we see his pick rate skyrocket, because I think he does bring out so much for the attack. A Mira ban is pretty standard fare here on Clubhouse, and then a Clash ban, as Obey have decided that after that first game on Consulate, they don't particularly want to deal with a Clash yet again. And I think that's a wise choice. It was a huge part of why C9's defense worked so well on Consulate. Though on Oregon, C9's defense was pretty good, and they lacked the Clash. So there was obviously some changes that were made there for Cloud9 in order to thrive without the shield defensive operator.
Looks like it's going to be bottom floor here for Obey. Now, because there's only one hard destructor ban, and it's the least effective on drop downs, the Maverick, this bottom floor isn't going to be great to defend. Cloud9 will be able to bring both the Thermite and the Habana, which means they can open up anything they want. It's a lot of power to put in the hands of one team.
So downstairs we'll go for the very first site here. Obey, of course, will defend first. We haven't seen an overtime just yet. I would imagine that if we're likely going to see one, it's probably going to be on Clubhouse between these teams. Especially if it does end up being a pretty typical Clubhouse routine where defenders win a lot. They switch sides, defending team wins about the same amount, and then you have to go into those extra innings to try and figure out who exactly walks away the victor.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, we'd seen that a lot from this map. The setup pretty standard. No surprises at all when it comes to the operator selection, nor when it comes to the operator selection of the attackers. Capital yet again going to be picked out. Such a powerful operator attacking no matter where you are.
And trying to figure out if somebody's going to be playing up over top of blue is Mark. And he's just going to go for the typical precautionary shots through the doors. Maybe there might be somebody there, maybe not. And then he'll go for drone, and he'll drone himself in. This is something that Obey was doing a lot of last game as the map started to wind down, was Obey started droning themselves in quite a bit. Cloud9 was doing it early on in Consulate when they were on attack as well. Typically, you will want an escort with that drone there just as extra insurance to be able to capitalize on the fact that you figured out where somebody is, because that information that is gleamed from a drone can be gone and useless within a very short period of time. Double hard breachers as well for Cloud9 means that they have some added insurance should we see any of those impact tricks that typically do end up happening, and it certainly appears that that's exactly what Benji's going to do, and there you go. But it looks like he might have missed Benji picking the wrong direction, and that is a free hatch for Cloud9.
Yeah, somewhat hit and miss when you're trying to trick that hatch. Foxay is going to be able to open up all of the hatches because of that, which means you also still have the thermite charges when you go for the actual site push. You can open up whatever it is you need to open up. Over by blue, Mark's going to get a nice headshot onto Skies. Excellent crosshair placement. Skies just walked into it.
And still more droning from C9 here. So you've lost the Valkyrie, who will go unbanned this time around. Both teams, of course, running a Valkyrie. Cloud9 doesn't really rely on her all that much, but you see that Skies will run her quite a bit, especially on defense of certain sites that typically rely on that information being given above the site. This is a pretty good opportunity. Retro getting the kill onto Maman will mean that Obey will continue to find themselves down numbers. Benji is just an inch away from an engagement with Mark. He'll take out Retro, but then immediately turn his back to blue, and that's Mark being able to jump in. Adam with one and Bosco with one means that it's a 2v2, But that will narrow now as down goes Bosco. Goddess will need to get the plant off with Adam as Obey's only opportunity to salvage this round, and as he tries to peek out and rotate into Church, Laxing will hold the cross from the bottom of main stairs.
Nice attack strategy from Cloud9, hinging heavily on that take into blue. It was just a simple blue moto pinch, which is interesting because usually that's the strategy used by most teams when you don't have access to an abundance of hard destruction. The fact that they had both hard destructors that you would ideally have on this site, Hibana and Thermite, and still chose to go for that strategy just shows their confidence in, well, that strategy. The most interesting thing for me was the fact that they were easily able to push their way into blue with very little fight being put up by Obey. It did seem like Obey had a good handle on blue control, but ultimately not the case. Kind of surprising that Cloud9 managed to get by both of the blue lanes without contention.
Yeah, I mean, that was maybe a bit too little of a roam from Obey there, which is kind of strange to say when talking about Obey as a team. They really didn't invest much time in establishing a ton of map control. And then ultimately, they just allowed Cloud9 to walk up to the front door uninvited and just take that all away from them. It's going to be a bit different when you go upstairs, though. And as we see a cache CCTV defense, typically you'll see defenders spread out a bit more. Maybe some presence in construction on the top of red, over inside a garage. These are all ways that the defenders can utilize that map control to waste time and also waste utility of the attackers. Cloud9 is going to have some utility in the Capitao and the Zofia, and a heavy frag lineup outside of that. They'll bring the double hard breach again, which is something that we've seen a lot from Cloud9, running with the Hibana and Thermite. And as I said, it's just added insurance. Because Obey is capable of going back downstairs, I think it's a smart idea to know that you can bring a Thermite and a Hibana with you.
Yeah, having both of those options, really very useful. Cache room defense, from some teams, tends to be the primary site. Well, the secondary here is not surprising either. Cloud9 seemingly setting themselves up to take into the garage. Definitely something hard to accomplish, but when you've got all that hard destruction, you can pull it off. Capitao Firebolt's going to be really instrumental on dealing with anyone on the top of the catwalk.
I'm really surprised here that Obey isn't bringing a pretty typical anchor operator upstairs and instead is just relying on the Legion up there. Usually you want to put an ACOG up somewhere nearby to try and take advantage of the fact that you have the protection of those metal rails and will also likely be fighting against other ACOGs.
Adam trying to challenge the long angle through lounge. Dangerous thing to challenge as a pulse, but you can make it happen. Very wise to fall back in that scenario. Foxay gets the first kill onto Adam. It's a good start for Cloud9. Grenades likely to land if there's no ADS, but ooh, just a little bit of an overshot, and Benji walks away with half HP.
Yet again, that's the second grenade that's going to miss. Retro just sees the head of the Legion, but cannot pick away at Benji. And if Benji peeks ever so slightly, this could be an opportunity for him to get a nice kill onto the Zofia. He's being hounded at the moment as the clock is just going to continue to strike towards that 0 mark. Mark trying to, speaking of Mark, he sees both the Jaeger as well as the Legion for just a second. He'll be able to get Benji, but the Jaeger has fallen off, and Mark taking 20 damage as he hits 2 goo mines. And then there's the Jaeger there to be able to finish him off.
Great angle play there from Obey. Skies has been lit up quite a bit, but damage is done. Cloud9 still has the lead, though ever so slightly. And they have finally gotten control of Garage, but at what cost, really? It's going to be quite difficult for them to push the site. Skies is still very exposed inside of server. See over by the cache stairs, but man trying to hold the angle onto the window. Skies playing that tight angle in server will win the fight. Or Laxing is able to finally shut him down and go in for the defuse plant. Foxay from behind will also get Bosco, leaving my man in the 1 versus 3. A difficult thing, to be sure, and as the diffuser goes down, it becomes even more so. He misses a lot of shots onto Hibana Foxay. That's embarrassing. And he will be flashed into oblivion, making his life even more difficult. Retake here. Still trying for my man, but he will simply be taken down by Retro. And Cloud9 take the round.
I am amazed that Cloud9 walked away with the victory on that round. 30 seconds in, you've got your hard breach diffuser carrying thermite, because I realized that sentence didn't make a lot of sense by itself, trying to go in through the open hole inside of CCTV wall. None of the hard destruction has been committed on the exterior walls. You don't even bother to shoot out the bandit batteries and have either Hibana or thermite reposition because you realize you're too short on time because you spent most of it battling one lesion at the top of Catwalk. And then you still manage to just out-frag Obey when there's really only 2 ways into the site at that point. I am amazed that C9 walked away with that. Absolutely astonished.
Yeah. They really shouldn't have. The way that they were taking in through Garage was a little bit stacked. I'm surprised that Obey didn't do any more damage than getting the 1 kill. That should have been a lot. Oh.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
It's a big whoops there. That's a big whoops. So the way things are shaping up right now, Obey seems to be in turmoil, and Cloud9 looks like they're ready to, well, twist the neck and finish this off.
Vigil's cloaking device hides you from drones, not from shotguns.
The more you know.
Pro tips. Crucial mistake. But I feel like we've seen this from Obey before. They did it on Oregon. I believe it was Bosco trying to open a rotate hole as well inside of kids' dorms. I think they still won the round. So who knows? Maybe this is some 500 level IQ 7D chess blood sacrifice. And Skies need to be the one to pay for it. Who knows? But I think that, you know, Obey realized that pressure's on for them. This is a do or die opportunity. There's still obviously 4 land spots that will be remaining at the end of today. But more importantly, it's Obey falling behind on Oregon. Obviously a bit of frustration likely coming in. My man missing a lot of those shots, I think it is pretty emblematic of the fact that there's probably some nerves at play. And then that is a really brutal mistake.
Yeah, definitely something that you cannot be making at this point in a best of 3. And more importantly, I mean, you're already down 2 rounds, so this is just reinforcing your current deficit. Retro will be reset after likely taking some damage, and back to 50, still able to play this match out. All the drop downs will be opened up, it looks like, with relative ease, so Cloud9 have everything they could possibly want on this push. They also still have the thermite in place, so they could open up the church wall should they choose to. They're going to have to confront those bandit batteries, though, if that's the strategy. Overall, though, Cloud9 have full control. They've forced all of these defenders into a difficult spot. And here comes the start of a push on the blue. Last time Cloud9 pushed this, they got it with ease. And yeah, from control of blue, they managed to establish a crossfire with Moto, and it was an easy church push.
I mean, the good thing here for Obey, at least, is that the one that they lost early on, Skies, was playing the Vigil. So it's not like the gadgets are required of you. It's not like a Jaeger dying early and losing those ADSs. Speaking of, Adam also will bite the dust and will join his teammate Skies as there's a minute to go here in round number 3. C9 currently with the 2-0 lead, looking to try and extend that. A small hole has been opened up above Foxe, and that looks like it's possibly an impact trick spot.
Bosco, nice shot onto Goddess, and the Fuser now down inside of Arsenal. So the strategy for Cloud9 has changed. Instead of pinching between Moto and Blue, they've opted to go for an Arsenal push, which now they are completely tied to after losing their first operator. My man gets a C4 onto Mark, well placed, and now Cloud9 are starting to one by one fall down as they attempt to push into the site. Still an element inside of Arsenal, but he's exposed to Blue, and from the Blue, Retro will get the kill.
15 seconds remaining.
So little time, but Retro gets another frag. It's all down to my man in a 1 versus 3. A tricky thing to win, but he is certainly trying. So little time, and the marks are coming out, but Retro from Blue still in that crossfire position. Perfect spot to win the round, and a great 3K for him.
You think those were bad calls on Retro's position?
Yes,
Because, I mean, you got the Valkyrie who's not looking towards blue. You've got Smoke, who not only is not looking towards blue, but then tries to rotate with a hole in blue. That's bad calls.
You can't just, I mean, yes, but also just general bad game sense. I mean, Cloud9's been pushing from blue every single time they attack onto the bottom floor. Okay, fair. They've only done it twice now. But last time they attacked the bottom floor, they did the same thing they just did now. The one difference being, instead of pushing through Moto, they pushed through Arsenal. And sure, that's a transition of strategy, but they maintained the pressure in blue, and it is clearly instrumental in the outcome of these rounds. If it were not for blue pressure, that would have been likely a successful hold for Obey. All said and done now, and we're at a 3-0.
I mean, C9 putting together... C9 has won 3 rounds in the first half of every single map. So they've hit their mark. Obviously going to try to continue to increase upon that. I don't think there's a call from C9 saying, all right, we got this. Don't worry, we'll wait for the second half. Retro, the way he was positioned inside of blue, eerily similar to the way that they use him with that Blackbeard. Almost like a statue, just situated, watching an angle, very minimal movement, being able to capitalize off of anybody who tries to rotate out and has the misfortune of finding themselves within a couple pixels of his crosshair.
5 seconds left.
Obey are going to need to throw everything at the wall here, because not only have these been rounds in favor of Cloud9, but by and large, they've been pretty definitive rounds. There really hasn't been a lot of question as to whether or not Obey can possibly land a punch or two of their own. There's a funny thing with these 3-0s is that this is really the opportunity where a team that has everything going in their favor can make a stumble or two, because they might get overconfident or they might get comfortable with the fact that they've won this half. So at that point, we can play a little bit looser, and that looseness might end up being a pretty big detriment for the team that is currently up 3-0. But I mean, Cloud9 is also gifted on attack, so it's going to be incumbent upon them to wade their way through Obey's defenses here.
And they've been doing it very well so far, as they're already up that 3-0. They've been looking fantastic on their attacking half. Slow goes here for Cloud9, yet again, setting themselves up around the garage. This is the way they chose to attack this site the last time they were here. Take in through garage, and once you've done that, then you can start pressuring the site. Nice Claymore there to cut off rotation in the hallway. Of course, it will very likely be shot pretty quickly into this round, but for now, it can do a little bit of work in making the defense think about it, if nothing else. Foxay, seemingly trying to push his way in through office, will be taken out. The melee hole spotted out there by my man. Well done to the Jaeger to see that opportunity and seize it. It was a nice shot.
And it's one of the dual hard breachers as well. And the last time that this site was attacked by Cloud9, there wasn't, you know, did it get the man?
Nope, it did not.
It looked like he lost a little bit of health to that. I'm not certain, but
he got shot by Goddess.
Ah, as the Claymore blew up as well.
Yep.
So, speaking of getting shot, Adam and now Skies as well. Skies dropped all the way over in Strip Club. Oh man, that is a long shot. Likely went for the run out through the strip doors and got taken out of action. Unfortunately for Skies, unlikely that his teammates will be able to pick him up. A grenade gets tossed up and it'll blow up. It doesn't find a target. Benji eliminates Mark, 3v3. As now Benji will get downed to that asphyxiating bolt and then finished off by Goddess, who'd taken a chunk out of my man's health earlier, as you've noted. My man started things off for Obey, and he's going to be Vanguard as he sits up top on that rafter. He's going to find a kill of himself. Skies does eventually bleed out and finish himself off, and there's Bosco now just trying to patrol this open hole. This is a very winnable situation for this Smoke, and he pulls out the shotgun, drops Goddess. Next one up is Laxing. Bosco, ever the clutch master. Dylan Bosco. That's 2 members of C9. Line him up and knock him down. Excellent read from the Smoke there. And that's a pretty routine hold.
Nice call to push in and get proximity on his opponents. That was definitely the right situational awareness. Now, Cloud9's streak has ended, but they still looked pretty good in that round. Dominant is the word I would use. And they were fixated on taking the garage, which ultimately was to their failure. They could have simply pushed in from somewhere else, anywhere else, and they probably would have had a better result. Maybe a construction push. Whatever the case, though, it's done now. And gym bedroom will be the next site for Obey to go to. They have not successfully won the basement just yet, but they still possibly could have if they chose to go there. This is, however, the final round of the first half, and the final place where Obey will be able to defend.
So finally a round for Obey that comes down to one of their clutchest members, and looked pretty hairy for them there for a minute, especially when they lost the two early on, and both Adam and Sky's getting downed. It did look like Cloud9 was going to be able to continue to stretch onward with that, but once again, for reasons unbeknownst to us, Cloud9 having a great degree of hardship getting in with double heart breachers through one or two walls, and they just end up funneling in. And if they have the presence of different members of the team in different areas, then they're able to just outgun Obey. But you can't just rely on always necessarily winning fights. It's not against all opponents, maybe against Obey, maybe here in this situation, sure. But overall, you have to be a bit more diversified in that sort of thing. And having your Thermite and Hibana get very little value out of their gadgets is a bit of a head-scratcher.
Certainly is. Slow going here for Cloud9 once more, as they have been, well, not quick on their attack strategies. They know they want to clear out cache, though, and Mark's going to be the first line of assault. He does have drones ahead of him, so he's got the information on this push, but it's not going to be an easy one still. Free fire from Mark, trying to take out the Valkyrie in his anchor position inside a cache room, but it's not going to happen.
He does get the deployable shield, though, and now with that wall being opened up, Mark was holding an angle, but just misses as the Valkyrie does manage to escape that cache room. Also misses the yokai of Adam as well.
Yep. Cloud9 have gotten control of cache, whether they know it or not. They're just going to drone it out now and determine that. Now that they have that control, it's a simple push into construction. Where it gets really complicated is when they need to push into offices, because from offices, there's a really great angle to hold that construction push and, by extension, the site. You can see that it is being played right now by my man.
Don't forget that this was the map that Cloud9 was able to win DreamHack Montreal off of the backs of. A ping will go onto this deployable shield here, and it's proving quite troublesome for Retro to pick away at the wall around. Cannot find anything. He gets a great read onto the Jaeger, but doesn't land a single shot. That bullet pen is not quite what it needs to be through an impenetrable surface.
And Benji safe from the window thanks to the island in the middle of the site. As much as the Blackbeard may search for that angle, it's not going to happen right now. Sky is doing Sky's things, playing with C4 below. We saw him do this on Consulate, and it worked out pretty well for him. Goddess on the entry will take out Benji, and another one for Goddess onto Adam. Great shot placement by the Thermite. Sky still has the C4 from below, though. Retro will get my man. Diffuser's still going down, and it will finally be stopped by the Valkyrie. Excellent placement there. Valkyrie can also stop the vault in through the window, but instead, Sky's going to start relocating to the site as he knows his teammate Bosco is likely to die soon. The diffuser plant goes down. Laxing catches the rotation of his former teammate, and Bosco, now the final defender. We've seen this so many times before. FMG out. He is going to land the shots onto Fox. A well-placed shots indeed. He's got to find 3 more before he can clutch on the defuse. Slow going. Pushing out. He will get a nice headshot on the Retro. Excellent placement there. Capital playing extremely safe on the jacuzzi balcony. And so will Mark on the south balcony. The bait out is perfect. Cloud9 play it right, and they will take their 4th round in this first half. And the final round of this first half. Looking good to win the map out.
And if people aren't familiar with exactly what goes...
Start pressuring from that angle. All that said, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm critiquing the team that's up 4-1. So they're in a great position to win this outright, and they will go to the basement, Church, for the first defense of the second half.
obviously you're going to have the Castle get brought. And it's funny because you see Castle and Rook coming out. What do they come equipped with? Oh, impact grenades. What do you need to stop that front hatch over top of the bomb site that's inside a kitchen? Impact grenades.
Yeah.
And I mean, Benji failed to do it when they were on defense, but it was still a good look and usually works most of the time. He picked the left when he really should have gone right. I believe that's called the Kansas City Shuffle, which is when you look left and they look right. So there you have it. And of course, he looked left when he should have looked right.
Unfortunate timing. It does happen.
Unfortunate timing. I mean, you have 2 impact grenades. He could have possibly gone for it again, but I think at that point they realized that let's just contest the open hatch. Goddess dropped through that open hatch and they got a kill. So I mean, even opening up that hatch, it didn't really help Cloud9 all that much.
It also is very inconsistent. Impact tricking the kitchen hatch can be hit or miss. And at times, your impact is going to get all of them. Sometimes you get half of them. Sometimes it doesn't get any of them. It happens. Now, this time around, they still have it as, or Cloud9 is going to have it as an option. Not Obey this time. As the sides have swapped. Rook also being brought is kind of interesting to me. Now, of course, yes, more impacts, right? But is it really necessary to bring an operator like Rook? Is he the right decision? There are other choices that have impacts, and they haven't even used the impacts. They're going to be bringing a deployable shield to allow for relaxing to anchor over by the Arsenal shelf. That's interesting. You don't see that position played very commonly because it's exposed to so many angles, but you can see that Cloud9 is keen on using it here. I want to know what's going to happen when the engagement actually meets the shield. No strategy survives contact with the enemy, as the saying goes, and that's the sort of one that is looking very rickety.
I like that you call it rickety, because it's a way to describe a lot of these strats here, is that they look a little rickety, old, wooden, not exactly working well.
All right, fine, but the overall setup here for Cloud9 is all right, though they do have some things that won't necessarily work out well when they actually get into a fight. That's the overlying call. However, based on their performance as individual players, I don't think it's going to matter. I think that once Obey actually gets into the fight, they're probably going to struggle. Flashbang's going through the drop, or well, right next to the drop, to try and allow Skies to open it up. He knows that there are impacts just below him, and he's wary of it. But we'll see if they work out or if they don't. Whether or not the drop-down gets opened will be the tell. Looks like one set of impacts will clear out one set of Excaros. Flashes will actually flash Skies as well as potentially anyone underneath. And the impact clears it once more. So, the Arsenal drop-down successfully held out by Cloud9 thanks to the impact tricking. Well done.
So, I mean, you also saw Foxay lose an awful lot of HP there, too.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big success for Obey to be able to open that one up. They'll bring the double Heart Breacher combo as well. So if you see the Thermite be able to get in towards Church, he can do some good work there. But instead he's positioned inside of that dirt tunnel, and wow, a nice double up there on Nolaxing from Skies as well as Adam. Adam almost finding Death, but Death will evade him just for the time being. A big double kill lined up for Goddess, but she'll only walk away with one for the time being. She'll pivot along with Mark to try and take out Skies. You've still got Benji down there, and there you go. Goddess will tear right through her. Bosco coming in. He'll manage to find Retro as he sweeps right into the site, finds a second, as he'll get the scalp of Foxay. It's a 2v1, as Adam has been down. Mark is just sitting and waiting, and Bosco will need to fetch the diffuser, and they're just going to keep away from the action. Match point in favor of Cloud9.
Yeah, 5-1, just like that. And you got to imagine a lot of that is due to the fact that the kitchen dropdown was denied so readily. Kind of surprised by that fact, and I would have imagined that Obey would have more tricks up their sleeves in order to get that opened up. They did manage to do damage, like we talked about, to Retro, who was lit up substantially, but at the same time, it was not enough to salvage the round, and simply waiting was all that Cloud9 needed to do. Now they're going to go to the Master defense over by Jim, and this is a good sight, especially with Maverick as an operator being banned out. He is so influential here. And you can see both hard breachers being brought out. by Obey as they were being brought by Cloud9, but yeah, it's not gonna change the way that this site is played. Not really. And most of the hard destruction is focused on Jacuzzi balcony wall. That's like the main pivot point for the attack. They're gonna need to open that up no matter what. And the cool thing is they have the Habana, so that's gonna be made so much easier. And you could just open up prone level, or actually, what am I even saying? You can't impact trick that anymore, but it is going to make opening that up a lot easier, because if nothing else, you have the excess of hard destruction.
Yeah, I mean, the impact trick on the Jacuzzi wall was so important for the defenders. It made defending this site infinitely easier. I mean, Gym Master is still very defendable, but not where it was.
The problem with the impact tricking on that wall in particular is not impact tricking as a thing, because impact tricking is fine. It's perfectly reasonable. The problem was that it was one-way impact tricking. So the fact that the little metal thing above was blocking the grenades but not the impacts. So as a defender, you could deny the hard destruction, but as an attacker, you can't throw a flash or a grenade over to try and deny the impacting. That was the issue. You know, impact tricking as a thing is great, but yeah, that did really upset the attackers quite a bit, and it was a good thing that they fixed. Now, Obey, obviously, going to be keen to use their hard destruction to open up that wall. There is a mute jammer in play, though very likely one on Jacuzzi wall, which is going to slow down the push, but it seems like the mute jammer's been taken care of. Through whatever means it has been taken care of, and that wall sounds like it got opened up. The drone will detect a roaming Jaeger on the east side of the building. Good work to Obey to get that information in hand. And now Bosco, with so little HP, still going to be able to play in this round.
These mute jammers here might stop the drones from just being able to gather all this information from Obey, which they desperately need. Skies will get pulverized by Foxay. That machine gun just rips right through what little was left of him. And Bosco, so low on HP. This does not bode well for Obey whatsoever. They'll stay on match point for C9, finding themselves at a big advantage. Giving up cash and CCTV control, Obey does have something that they need that's going to be a crown jewel in their defense, but more importantly, they need to try to isolate the players on site and cut them down one by one. That bathroom is essentially a fortress, and if played correctly, can really help the defense be able to stick out a plant. Second Claymore is going to go down here, and Obey will begin to circle the wagons.
Adams likely to open up that bathroom wall in due time, but he's got to deal with the pressure from below as well. This is such a great setup from Cloud9. All they need to do is wait, and that's what they've been doing throughout the rest of the round. Smokes and firebolts are getting prepped from Obey. Oh no, and Retro will take out Adam, and that is such a huge prong of the attack just lost. The east side has yet to be cleared out, and the Jaeger is still going to be in play over there. Potentially could get some kills, but he's going to choose to rotate over to construction. Probably the right call. Retro trying to hold the push into Jim with his pistol out. My man will get the first kill for Obey, but Mark and Laxing shut everybody else out, leaving just my man, and Cloud9 take the map and the match. They will go to the finals.
So you've got Noble, you've got Space Station, and now you've got Cloud9, all of whom will be competing at the USN Finals later this year. Excellent job from Cloud9 being able to come in and honestly just breeze right through this whole tourney. 2-0 over Mouse, looking pretty decisive. It got a bit scary there for C9 fans, especially on Consulate. It really looked like Obey had fired up the war machine. But then they fell off on Oregon, and I mean, after winning 6-3, they were only able to put 3 rounds on the board, whereas Cloud9 was able to put 12. And that is obviously a huge problem. You cannot make up that ground on one map on Clubhouse. Try as much as Obey may.
You know, it was looking like the match that we were all theorizing it would be so close, but after the first map, it just didn't go that way. And because of that, Cloud9 just able